Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the king of the game, the Bugatti Chiron, in Asphalt 9 multiplayer. My Chiron is currently at 4 stars at a rank of 4155. My tuning is 10-10-3-10, with all import parts applied that I could at this stage, and all upgrades are applied except for a bunch of handling ones, which this car honestly does not need, because whether handling makes the drifting and handling actually better, or if it just decreases the speed loss when drifting or turning, this car already has very good of both of those. And in this race, yes, we have quite a crazy battle between me and Black Dragon RU in his Bugatti Chiron. Now, his Chiron is 1 star below mine, I believe, and we're also facing another Chiron whose rank is slightly below mine in this race. We're also facing a Fenner Super Sport, as well as a couple VLFs, and 1 or 2 other cars, so it is a pretty packed race. Now, when you get a bunch of Chirons in one race, it gets pretty crazy. Now, he wrecked back there. However, he did not get so far behind that he was not able to catch my slipstream a bit later, as we will see. I went up there without flat spinning so that I would be able to barrel roll up this ramp because I found that if I don't flat spin there, I have a better chance of being able to do it. Sometimes if I flat spin, I hit the ramp at a weird angle and thus I can't shockwave around that turn. Yeah. If you have some nitro, it might be just best to go up it normally without flat spinning. Now here, that's Black Dragon RU again. It seems as though he has mastered the art of slipstream. However, if you're in second place, right behind somebody in the slipstream season, you're in a pretty good position, because you can just ride their slipstream for a very long time, and then pass them when it is opportune. And I was just waiting for my chance here, so I was staying along behind him. One good thing here, in particular on this track, is being able to shockwave into this ship, and then getting enough to shockwave into this ship over here. He did not have enough nitro, so he chose to took the longer route, which is better if you don't have much nitro. However, if you do have nitro going, the ship is faster, which allows me to get ahead of him, and then I decide to drift a bit around here and then shockwave into the finish line. So many times I've had problems where I don't drift there, especially when I could, because it's a good drifting car, and then I just get shoved off to the side and I lose because of it. That happened today. I went from first to third place like 1 second before the finish line because I got shoved at the very end there. Yeah, let's not talk about that and focus on the races at hand, at which we fly past everybody at the beginning. In this race, we are facing 2 other Bugatti Chirons, one very close to my rank and another one around 3700 rank. We are also facing 2 FXXKs. The one behind us is, as you might expect, another Bugatti Chiron. Now, it is a bit tough when you have another Bugatti Chiron right behind you when you're in a Bugatti Chiron because it doesn't get up to speed especially quickly, whereas the people behind you can just ride your slipstream and get up to maximum speed. This is why a lot of my wrecks or knockdowns in this season have been caused by somebody coming up from behind and shockwaving me. Somehow, I've been able to fend off this guy this long, and I'm honestly not sure how. Another thing that I've found is in these slipstream seasons, while it may be easy to slipstream somebody and then shockwave and knock them down, that doesn't always work. I've had many times where I've shockwaved into somebody and they haven't got knocked down. That guy back there fell off the track and got put way far back, and so now we should be good for the rest of the race. Unless he does a comeback like that Black Dragon RU guy, which he didn't. Now, what I was saying about me shockwaving into people and them not getting knocked down, that is in a race a bit later in the video. But for now, we've come in first in that race. Now we've got a race with a very, very well-driven FXXK, as well as a bunch of other vehicles. But it's the FXXK, believe it or not, that we're going to keep our eye on in this one. So since I was in the back, I caught a slipstream, and then that happened. Somehow I didn't wreck, and I'm still in second position. I bounced off like 3 walls there. Usually the Chiron would have wrecked by then. Thankfully, in this race it didn't, and the person who is ahead of us wrecked. I'm not exactly sure what on, but hey, any wreck is a good wreck when it doesn't happen to me. I would say that this car's biggest weakness, besides being a bit glitchy on some landings and stuff, is the fact that its nitro efficiency is still only average, maybe slightly below average. And while it's definitely gotten a lot better upgrading from 1 to 4 stars, it still does not allow you to get to your top speed on tracks like Rome, which is why cars like the FXXK, which is actually the one directly behind us, can manage to catch up. Even though their top speed is way lower, like 50 miles per hour lower, literally, they can manage to catch up because the speed they can actually reach and maintain on a track like Rome is quite similar to the Chirons, and the Chiron has a slight disadvantage in this case of having worse nitro efficiency. The FXXK, if you've driven it, has very, very good nitro efficiency, efficiency. So Rome is not the greatest track for the Chiron, and is probably the track where you will have the most problem if you're driving the Chiron against cars that have very good nitro efficiency but maybe quite a bit slower, like the FXXK. So tracks that are best for the Chiron will be ones like the Himalayas, for example, which is probably the best one for it, that have lots of long straightaways after ramps and stuff where it can reach its top speed and stay there for a long time, which is where it will be able to pull away from anything that has lower top speed, even if they have good acceleration and nitro efficiency and stuff like that. And this car does have very good acceleration, just not, well, so great nitro efficiency. But you can't vote for tracks in multiplayer in this game, so you kinda gotta take what you can get. So we beat this guy here. In the next race, though, we have a bit of trouble with our shockwave. You remember what I was saying earlier about people constantly shockwaving into me and me getting knocked down? Well, apparently that's only for people who run into me, and not for me running into other people. Because in this race, I've run into people multiple times with shockwave when it seems like I should knock them down, but I don't. Okay, so there is one right there, and I go up this ramp without barrel rolling, unfortunately. Then I shockwave down here. Thankfully, he doesn't knock down me when he lands on me, and here I pass them because, well, I knew what happened last time and I didn't want to just bump them and lose a lot of speed. After my try-on video, Afik told me that the best way to go through this section with very high top speed cars was to skip that ramp. It does give you a little bit slower speed through there, but it avoids the problem of hitting that wall too hard over there to the left when you land, which is a big problem for the Chiron because it tends to wreck on landings if you hit a wall too hard. There again, I hit somebody from behind and didn't knock them down. Now, it wasn't with shockwave, but it was still a lot faster than they were going. And usually, if somebody hits me with perfect nitro when they're going faster than me, I get knocked down. Here, I hit somebody else from behind with shockwave and don't knock them down. Thankfully, I am able to pass them. Then I shockwave up this ramp, hit somebody in the air again with shockwave, don't knock them down. Somehow, I don't get knocked down upon landing, and we're somehow still in second position, even after all that stuff was still happening. So I decide to just kind of pass this guy by, and hopefully not have to worry about anybody ever again, because at this point, I've gotten up to my speed. This is the part of Himalayas where if you can do it properly, you can get up to very high speed. So we come in first in that race. Now, in this race, we've got two other Bugatti Chirons, two W Motors Fenner Hypersports, and one little VLF. And here, I do try to get the slipstream in the beginning and try to keep behind other people with slipstream. However, that doesn't work. I managed to get slightly ahead, which unfortunately means other people can slipstream me, but thankfully, they don't manage to knock me down. I go for the ramp, go up it, unfortunately don't get a barrel roll. These kinds of starts of races happen so often for me in the Chiron because the car seems quite a bit bouncy, if you know what I mean. And it just goes a bit crazy sometimes. It's still a very good car, still my favorite car in the game, but it definitely has some issues that I think could definitely make it better if resolved. I'm glad also people in this season don't seem to be 360ing like they would in other seasons. I'm pretty sure 360 knockdown is on, so I'm just very thankful. I have not gotten 360 knockdown once in this season. I don't know if that's abnormal or not, but yeah, that's just my experience. Now, you see the little red line with the arrow behind it at the bottom of the screen? If the arrow is white, I believe that means somebody is riding your slipstream, and when it turns red, that means they're not anymore. So I knew that guy was going to try to shockwave past me at some point, but thankfully he did not manage to. Even though I didn't shockwave up there, something happened to him, and the second lap passes uneventfully, and we take the victory. The 300 higher ranked Bugatti Chiron came in right behind us, followed by a Fenner, and the other cars came in behind them. Now for the final race of the video, which is a very intense battle to the very end of these two laps against one other car, another Bugatti Chiron. Now, I drifted at the beginning so that he would not be able to catch my slipstream. That's why he was able to get slightly ahead in the beginning. But now, since I'm ever so slightly behind him, I can keep in his shockwave. This is not a tactic I normally try to do on purpose. I usually try to be ahead, but if I'm slightly behind somebody, hey, it's not as much of a problem as it would be a not slipstream season, because you've got a little bit of an advantage over the people ahead of you. That is, of course, if you can manage to pass them at some time, which I do here because he goes over to the left, and I found that going right is definitely faster, and actually right there is probably where I've passed more people on this specific variant of this track than any other place. So I guess now I'll give my general review of this car. And here he passes me again. There's a lot of going back and forth in this race. Basically, it's the king of the game, definitely worth going for. The packs will stay around for a while. There may be another week or something on them. They will stay until the end of the Chiron event, however long that is. And as I've said in my previous video, since you can get the same amount of Chiron blueprints statistically more easily through just buying the Chiron packs than by starring up the Alfieri and the 570S to get blueprints from them in the Chiron event, yeah, just save your tokens, buy the Chiron packs, and wait for later to get the Alfieri and the 570S. Because this is the king of the game we're talking about here, and surely those cars will come back later in some form or another, like most Unleashed cars have. Yes, I know the Chiron event is not the greatest thing, but Gameloft does not seem to be changing it or doing anything about it, so let's just make the most of what we've got now. Because if you get past the fact about those two cars being needed for so many blueprints, I mean, the event gives 5,500 tokens and millions of credits, so you can upgrade this car and a bunch of other ones. So yeah, just go for this car. It's the king of the game. It's got amazing stats everywhere except for possibly nitro efficiency, but still that is okay once you upgrade it more. And in this race, we come out on top. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!